Hey ladies, welcome to episode 77 of the Health, Life, and More for Women podcast. I'm drawing on my 12 plus years of homeschooling to share three lessons really, that I've learned that actually apply to anyone, everywhere. You don't have to homeschool to benefit from these three things I've learned. Let's dive in.
Welcome to the Health, Life, and More for Women podcast with certified life coach, mom of four, and just all-around lover of all things 80s, your host, Jennifer D'Amato. Buckle in. Let's get started.
I can't believe it's been 12 plus years of homeschooling. Sometimes I can't even believe my kids are homeschooled. I didn't grow up homeschooled. I went to public school, most of my life. I was in private school before we had moved, and then fourth grade through high school, I went to public school. I only knew one homeschooling family growing up. My parents' friends, she homeschooled their three boys, and it just seemed like such an odd thing to do. Like, why would you homeschool? And then I became a fifth grade teacher in the public school system. We had our first daughter 3 years into that journey. And I just knew I was going to homeschool. In Arizona, it's normal. It's something, I can't believe how many homeschoolers I know. And it's not all faith-based. People do it for a variety of reasons. We, for a long time, just kind of left it up in the air if we were going to stay homeschooling. And then about 7 years ago, I think it was, we just decided, yep, this is what we're going to do. We are just going to homeschool. They're not going to go to the public school system. And I have to say, after going through 2020 and watching what other families were going through, I'm glad we made that decision. I'm really glad that my family didn't have to go through that piece of 2020. My kids' friends were, and still are, suffering. You know, it's been such a hard thing for these kids who've, been brought home, seemed like kind of a vacation at the end of the year a year ago. Can't believe it's been almost a year at the time of recording this. And then, of course, these kids have gone back and forth, and just that inconsistency. Like, my kids haven't had that piece of it. They've gone through the struggles in this past year, but they definitely haven't had that disruption even to their schooling. It's really been consistent. Even my oldest doing college classes, she didn't have to miss out on them. They just happened to be online. It wasn't what she wanted to do, but she didn't have to miss out on taking the college classes, which that's also crazy just to think that's where we are in this journey. And as I've been preparing for her to graduate homeschooling, all the thoughts have been coming up. So many things. And actually, part of it is because we're preparing for her to be graduating with us. She has fulfilled all of her high school requirements. She's scheduled to take the SATs. The girl's done, and she'll be graduating at 16 years old. Within the homeschool community, that's not very shocking. However, we've heard a lot of things. We've heard a lot of things over the last year or so. And in this season, we're actually entering a new season of homeschooling. Because of this, a lot of things have been coming up. And there's three things I've learned from homeschooling that I believe can apply to anyone. You don't even have to have kids for these things to apply to you. But I want to share these three, really my top 3 lessons from homeschooling. Let's just dive right into the first one. Other people's opinions don't matter. This could not be more true right now. Not only am I dealing with hearing people's opinions, and I'm just hearing them. They don't penetrate deeply, I assure you. But people have all sorts of opinions about our oldest graduating. And some people say it right to your face. They tell you exactly what they're thinking about it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because I know the journey. They've seen this snapshot. They hear this one piece. They don't know when she was starting to read at 3 years old. And it really doesn't matter. I don't have to justify what we're doing. It's their opinion coming from their point of view. Now, how I know this is also going on, that people are not saying it to me, is because my kids are hearing it on a constant basis. I feel like the lesson that I've learned, that other people's opinions are, you could say, none of my business, are irrelevant, are not important. I'm teaching that lesson, though, to my kids on a regular basis right now. I feel like it's on repeat because their friends have opinions and they are sharing them. I can imagine there's probably some discussions going on in homes about what's happening. And that's not coming out from the adults, because most adults would be like, it's just my opinion. But kids don't have that same filter. And they are letting my kids know their opinions. So I'm taking this lesson that other people are going to have opinions. People have had opinions about us homeschooling at all. In fact, family members have expressed their opinions about us homeschooling and their dislike. That's a nice way of saying it. Their dislike of us homeschooling. Other people are always going to have opinions about what you do, about the choices that you make, about decisions that are important to you. But that's all they are, is other people's opinion. They come from their perspective, their point of view. It actually can even come from their brokenness. It can come from their own shame or guilt. It can come from a place of woundedness. We have to keep that in mind when other people interject their usually unwelcome opinions. It's coming from another place, not necessarily your best interest, right? So the first lesson from homeschooling is it's okay to tune out completely other people's opinions. Acknowledging other people are always going to have opinions about your choices, about your decisions. But at the end of the day, when you put your head to pillow, you need to be okay with the decisions that you've made. All right. The second thing from homeschooling that I've learned that I really do believe applies to everyone is how important alone time is. Being a mom of four, alone time for a very long time was pretty close to zero. There's a long-running joke I have about hiding in my closet. I've talked about it on the podcast a long time ago, about how funny it is that now I record in my closet, and this is the place I would go to hide. I would go to get alone time. But the reality is, without doing that, without getting that alone time, being by myself, whether it was for rest or quiet, just no one asking me for anything. Without that, I was not the mom I wanted to be. I wasn't the wife I wanted to be. I wasn't the Jennifer I wanted to be. Being intentional about your alone time, about whether that is a nap or just no one talking to you, going out for that walk, having a meal by yourself. Oh, yes. Whatever that looks like, that's the time you use just for you to recharge or to step back or to evaluate or to think without interruption. You can set a boundary here with your kids, with your spouse, with your phone, that I need to recharge. I need to rest. I need to reevaluate, to think, to just be with myself. As a homeschool mom, there's not a lot of alone time built in during the day. I had to really be intentional about fitting that in. Sometimes it was first thing in the morning. It's why when my kids were really little, I would get up before them. I needed that alone time first thing in the morning. As my kids got older, I took that alone time in the afternoon. I sat down with my children and said, from this time to this time, it was usually about 30 minutes every day, whether it was 12 to 12:30 or 1 to 1:30, whatever it was, usually in the afternoon. I'm shutting the door. I'm not answering my phone. I'm not answering your questions unless someone is, bleeding, dying, it's an emergency. Do not bother me. They pretty much shrugged their shoulders, said okay, and moved on with their life. Again, I believe this lesson is beyond homeschooling. It's beyond for homeschoolers. It's for everybody. Whether your kids are in school all day, which maybe by now they are, you still can ask for alone time. Maybe not even ask. Maybe the word is demand. Maybe you're at a point of, I need to demand some alone time. And that's your Saturday mornings. Maybe that's your Sunday afternoons. That's the time you can get alone time. Maybe it's at night. Maybe it's between 8 and 8:30 or 8 and 9 o'clock. And that's your alone time. Kids are in their room. They're reading. They're quiet. And you're just with yourself. All right. I have one more lesson that I've learned as a homeschool mom that I want to share with you that I really do believe applies to every single person everywhere. Hey ladies, I'm not really sure how your mornings look, but I'm wondering if you could use an influx of motivation. Yeah, where you just feel so motivated to head into your day. Well, I have the answer for you. I have created the morning motivational journal to do this for you. It has 5 components that are going to not only increase your motivation in the morning, but last throughout the day. You start off with gratitude, set your priorities, increase positive self-talk, set your intentions for nourishment, and a reminder for a big, audacious, focused goal. If this is something you know you need in your life, head into the show notes now. Click Morning Motivation Journal and purchase yours today. Or you can just head to www.healthcoach4life.com/shop. So the third thing is about comparison. So often homeschoolers will compare what they're doing to other homeschoolers. This just gets us in this trap of, I'm not doing enough. I should be doing more. My kid should be learning that. My kid should be going to these places. And it becomes this spiral out of control of not enoughness. One of the greatest lessons I learned is don't compare your beginning to someone else's middle. And I would even say, don't compare your middle to someone else's end. You know, I've met with a lot of homeschool moms that are just starting out. It's something that happened for me, and I like to extend that and pay that forward. And I always tell them, yes, this is what I did, or this is what I'm doing, but you need to do what works for you. Remember, I've been doing this for years. And of course, I also have hindsight. There might have been things I would do differently, looking at it now than I did then. Don't compare your beginning to someone else's middle. Maybe for you, that lesson is in parenting. You're watching people that have teenagers or young adult children or even upper elementary, and you've got itty bitties at home and you're just losing your crap on the regular. Was that just me? Don't compare where you are to where someone else, they've already been there. They've already passed that place. Why are their kids able to walk through Target and not grab everything on the shelf? Well, it's because they've already been in that season you are. They've, worked with their kids, practiced with their kids. Oh yeah, that's a thing I did with my children. Practiced with them at Target. You can't ask for anything, but you can look at everything. Oh man, my kids barely asked for anything at the store. Comparison seems to come natural to us. I hate that. I really do. I hate that as human beings, it comes so natural to look at what someone else is doing and think, how come I'm not there yet? Should I be doing that? What's wrong with me? How come my kids aren't there yet? Maybe you find yourself in this space with your marriage or your career, comparing where you are to where someone else is. And maybe you don't even realize you're at the beginning. They're in the middle. Maybe you don't realize, you've been doing this for a while. You're just in the middle of this. They're beyond that point. And you just get caught up in this space of comparison. And comparison literally takes your joy away from what you're doing. Things don't feel fun anymore. Things don't feel any sense of pleasure if we're constantly in that comparison loop. I think this is a great lesson to teach our children. They see their friends. They see what they have or what they're doing. Comparison kills. I would say it's beyond the thief of joy. It is the killer of joy. There's a lot of things I've learned from being a homeschool mom. I mean, there's a lot of things I've learned from staying home with my kids for the last 16 years. These are 3 things, though. 3 things that I really do believe apply to anyone, anywhere. Letting go of other people's opinions. Like having an internal mute button on what other people think about what you're doing, your decisions. Having alone time, setting it as an intentional priority and not comparing where you are to where anyone else is. These 3 are 3 of the greatest lessons I've learned. I hope that one or all of these spoke to you at some level. Whether you need to hit the mute button on other people's opinions, intentionally schedule some alone time for yourself, or get out of that comparison loop and just focus on where you are and the joy that that brings. I hope one of these or all of these met you right where you are and helps you get where you want to be. That's really the whole goal. All right, ladies, until next week. Hey, ladies, if you've ever struggled with thoughts about your body, thoughts about, am I eating enough, the right foods? I don't even know what healthy is anymore. I want to invite you into a private consultation with me. Yes, I'm your podcast host, but I'm also a certified health coach, a certified life coach, and I specialize in intuitive eating. I would love to talk more about where you are in your health, what your desires and goals are for it, and find out if working together is the best step for you. All you have to do is go into the show notes, click book a consultation, pick the time and date that works for you, answer a few questions to apply, and the rest is up to me. I'll give you that call. We'll talk. It's all about you and meeting you exactly where you are. I look forward to talking.